Well, here we are again. Aston Villa get another comeback victory in the Premier League. I was lucky enough to be at this game, a perfect storm of childcare being available and me being off work. And Villa Park was absolutely bouncing. A little bit flat in the first half. Obviously, we didn't play very well. We're going to get into that. But that second half was just some of the best limbs I have seen in the last year or so, especially because it was against Wolves. The who are you chance. The other chance that perhaps we won't repeat on this channel, but I had a blast. I got this done. Literally, whilst we were there, I said, that's it, I'm done. I've seen him score live now. 4 goals for John Duran this season. We're going to get into all of that good stuff very, very shortly, but just be sure to leave a like, subscribe down below to create the best Aston Villa community on YouTube and comment your thoughts on the Wolves games. But let's break this down. And in terms of the first half of this game, I think that Unai Emery pretty much summed it up better than I ever could. Roll the clip.
We played really first half.
And you'd be hard pressed to find a Villa fan or probably a Villa player that would disagree with Emery. I don't understand what on earth happened, to be honest with you. We were woeful in that first half. And I've said it for a long time. Pau and Konsa have the physical problems playing centre-back together. Diego Carlos, clearly a physical specimen, but he just has that one pass in him every single game, and that is what happened. You know, he tried to play it into Onana in midfield. It was a weak and under hit and obvious pass. He should have just hoofed it, to be honest, at that point, and it was intercepted. It's 1-0 to Wolves, and Villa really never got going in that first half. Again, I feel like you have the John McGinn problem at the moment, especially when he's on the right with not a natural attacking right back on that side. Konsa clearly isn't an attacking fullback, even though they did get a goal this game. And you know, that lack of pace, that lack of burst really did show in the first half, and we just didn't really create everything. Everyone looked a little bit off their games, including Onana. Didn't really offer much in terms of ball retention in this game, and we were struggling. That was obvious for all to see. And now I don't know who got GBH'd in the changing room at half time. Possibly Luca Digne, because he was subbed off for Ian Maatsen. John McGinn did come off injured. That's a bad one. Apparently a couple of weeks out for our skipper. But we came out into the second half with Leon Bailey and Ian Maatsen on the pitch, and it was a completely different Villa. 60th minute comes around. We're kind of gaining momentum, and you could feel it in the stadium. We're gaining momentum in the game. Ollie Watkins has a header cleared off the line as well a little bit later on. But then, for me, the game changed when Ross Barkley and John Duran entered the pitch. Ross Barkley, we have to give this man his flowers. He almost transformed that game. Being in midfield, him and Tielemans, the possession domination completely shifted. It was all Aston Villa. He was really good at progressing the ball forward, being tidy with the ball as well. And it led to 3 goals in, 10, 20 minutes? First off, Ollie Watkins, dodgy bit of work from John Duran, but he hustled, he got the ball back, put it through. Morgan Rogers put it on a plate for Watkins, who duly done his thing. The second goal, by the way, that ball from Tielemans, I'll flash some highlights up on the screen if I can, without being copyrighted, obviously. But that ball from Tielemans for Konsa at the back post was absolutely delightful. And then Konsa, that's a brilliant finish to nutmeg Sam Johnstone, by the way. The way he's managed to adjust and hit it with the outside of his boot was brilliant. 2-1, game done. But then the icing on the cake, obviously. Ian Maatsen, some good work, first of all, in the midfield from Yuri Tielemans. Puts Maatsen in. Maatsen slides it through to Morgan Rogers perfectly, who then puts it across. And who else? Who else but John Duran? 4 goals, all off the bench this season in 5 games. 12 points secured for Villa with his 4 goals. He's the best under-23 striker in Europe. You know he is. And it was 3 points in the bag. Puts us joint top of the Premier League until Man City probably beat Arsenal a little bit later on today. And overall, that second half performance, if we played like that in the first half and second half, honestly, this game could have been a 6-7-0. We were that good in the second half. Wolves, I don't even think, had a single shot in the second half. It was domination. But let's get into the player ratings. So we've flashed the player ratings up on the screen for you right now. Emi Martinez, 6, didn't particularly have too much to do, and again failed to keep his clean sheet, although not really any fault of his own. But should he be being beaten at the near post? Comment down below. Left back Luca Digne, only 45 minutes for him, probably a 5. Didn't really manage to get into the game, but then the whole team played poorly in the first half and looked a little bit leggy as well. Pau Torres, probably a 7. I thought he actually played quite well. He stepped out of defence really well this game and won a couple of physical battles as well. Diego Carlos, I'd have to give a 4. You can't make those mistakes. His passing ability just isn't good enough to play for the way that Emery plays, in my opinion, and it showed the whole game. Ezri Konsa at right back, I'd have to give a 7. He did get skinned a few times in the first half, and again, just due to John McGimby and his sort of winger, for want of a better word, in the first half, didn't particularly offer too much going forward. But then in the second half, with Leon Bailey in front of him, looked like a completely different player, defensively a lot more solid, and a brilliant goal. So definitely a 7 for him. Moving in to midfield, Jacob Ramsey couldn't particularly get into this game too much, so a 6 for him. Into the midfield, Yuri Tielemans gets an 8.5 for me. He just does it every single week. Again, in the first half, a little bit dodgy, but overall, fantastic. That assist for Ezri Konsa should be replayed over and over again. That is my ideal cross. It's perfection to the back post for Konsa to tap it in. Onana, I'd give a 5. Didn't really get into the game too much and then was hooked in the 60th minute. And then out on the right, John McGinn, a 5. Again, tried to drive us forward, but couldn't particularly do too much before coming off injured just before half-time. Moving up front, Ollie Watkins, 8. Constant problems, constant running in behind, and got his goal. And then we move on to my man of the match. A dodgy first half performance, I won't even lie, but Morgan Rogers, 9 out of 10 for me. 2 assists in the game, and in the second half, completely transformed how he was playing. The only complaint I have is he needs to just shoot more. There were so many times in this game where he had a shooting opportunity and we were almost trying to walk it into the net like Man City. Just needs to pull the trigger a little bit more. Moving on to the substitutes, the halftime subs. Leon Bailey, I'd give a 7. Again, came on direct, threatening every time he got the ball. And you know what? It might even be like a mental thing when Leon Bailey comes on, but every time he gets the ball, you hear it in the stadium. You hear that deep breath. You hear everyone chanting, "Go on, take him on." And it raises the morale, I think, inside Villa Park. And he did. Again, him and Konsa link up on the right. We saw it last season. It's very, very good. We move on to the other half-time substitution as well. Ian Maatsen, lovely ball through for Rodgers to get our 3rd goal. And I thought Ian Maatsen actually played really, really well defensively and offensively in that second half. I'd give him a 7 out of 10 as well. Then we move on to the 60th minute subs. John Duran, 8 out of 10, comes on, heavily involved in the first goal. Should have got a goal. There was a corner. He headed it just over from around the 6-yard box, but did get his goal eventually. And, you know, bring him on and he will score. And then Ross Barkley, very close to being my man of the match. I'll give him an 8.5, similarly to Tielemans. He came on and I thought he was just absolutely outstanding, brilliant. What a signing. £5 million. We have had the rest of the Premier League's pants down because everyone should have been after Ross Barkley. What are my overall thoughts on the game? I think I would echo again Unai Emery. First half, probably one of the worst first halves I've seen Villa play, as far as I can remember anyway. But again, we had this when we played in the Conference League last season, that midweek into the weekend game. We've always looked a little bit leggy. The substitutes though, oh my God. Villa finally have a bench that can come on and change a game and win games. We didn't have that last season. We didn't even have it the season before when we managed to somehow get up to 7th place. And again, it's a game changer to have a bench that good. You know, the bench changed this game. Don't get me wrong. If we would have made no subs, we would have lost this game 2, maybe 3, maybe even 4-0, the way that Wolves were dominating towards the end of the first half. We look slow, we look leggy, and then those substitutions. We have it now. That's what the elite teams have. They have that bench that can just change a game. Fair enough, I understand Leon Bailey will probably be starting soon, maybe John Duran, but then we're going to have great players dropping out of the starting lineup who can come on and change the game. Ross Barkley on the bench for me is a game changer. Absolutely brilliant. Ian Maatsen, we'll have Luca Digne possibly on the bench if he starts. We'll have Jadon Philogene coming back very, very soon. We have a bench that can win games. That is such a big thing in the Premier League. In the second half performance, again, Wolves didn't even have a shot in the second half. It was utter complete domination. But now we move on to Wickham in midweek. There'll be a couple of shorts coming out on the channel, but comment your thoughts down below on the Wolves game. I think I'm going to try and go to another couple of games before I move even further away, annoyingly, but you know, it is what it is. Family comes first, but I'm definitely going to be trying to get down to a couple of Villa Park games before we go, because that was just, it was an amazing experience. I love Villa Park. I love Villa. Up the Villa. I can't wait for Ipswich next week.